And the first thing we said we were going to do is have hearings across the state. Some of you were a part of that. We had them in Asheville, we had them out in Cullowhee in the west, up at Appalachian State in Boone. And I was naive enough, Representative Colton, you're going to laugh at me, but I was naive enough to think that somebody was going to pay attention to what people were saying in these hearings. And let me give you a very just simple, concrete example of that, which is out in Haywood County, which Phil Hare and I divide a representation of that county. And one of the members of the Board of Elections went and asked them, please don't divide the Crabtree Iron Duff precinct, because people are going to be confused whether Representative Rapp or Representative Hare or whomever is elected, who their representative will be, and in order to do the training and prepare the ballots, the total cost of splitting that precinct is going to be about $18,000, which of course Haywood County has to absorb. And everybody acknowledged that and nodded. Guess what? It's split. As are over 400 precincts in across the state in the House, and around 200 in the Senate, the precincts that are split now. And why is that a problem? Well, if you were to take the current map that we have in place now, and let's just take the congressional map. Right now, North Carolina has 7 Democratic congressmen and 6 Republican congressmen. The map that was rolled out after this lengthy process of public hearings where public input was heard, the new map breaks out, so there will be 10 Republican congressmen and 3 Democratic congressmen. Now, that's not accidental, folks. And I'm going to put a name out there that I very innocently, I don't want to pretend I'm a great innocent, but I was going into this process. They happened to mention in one of our hearings before the committee a man by the name of Mr. Hoffler. Anybody ever heard of Mr. Hoffler? Well, for 20 years, Mr. Hoffler was the Republican National Committee's key person to draw redistricting maps for the different states. If you want to know who drew the maps that we have now for the House, the Senate, and Congress, his name's Hoffler. He was a consultant. We could not ask questions of him because he was, even though he was getting tax money, he was working for the law firm that prepared the maps that were presented to us, and as an employee of that law firm, even though they got our tax money to pay for this process, we could not ask him any questions. Now, if that doesn't sound like an unfair process, I don't know what is. But I know who drew the maps. I know, and I know it wasn't that committee that I sat on. We were simply presented the day beforehand what the maps would be, and we were in a reactive mode at that point. Now, you've already heard Jane say what that means. What that means is we're going to court. We've got 2 major suits out there this year, and you heard the number we've had in the last 3 10-year cycles of redistricting in the state, and it's costing this state money and time and confusion of voters. Who's my representative? And when the courts, in some cases, change not necessarily the total map, but portions of the map, we have to order new elections. Primaries are delayed. This process goes on and on and on. And folks, it's time to put an end to this. Now, I could talk about a number of other things, but I think it's safe to say that the way we've been doing it doesn't work. It does if you're the party in power, but from the standpoint of the average citizen, it is unfair, unwarranted, and it's causing a great distrust of government, the governmental process itself, And there's some of us that decided enough is enough. And it was a bipartisan effort. And Representative Glazer, and please remember he's running for the state school superintendent. And I'm going to say that because I was his co-chair in Education Appropriations, and there's nobody that knows education better than Rick Glazer, period. And I'll tell you that firsthand, but I digress. What I want you to know is why, for all of these reasons you've heard, we introduced a bill, bipartisan bill with Dr. Bill Current, a Republican, David Lewis, a Republican, chair of the current Redistricting Committee, Rick Glazer and myself were the 4 primary sponsors. Susan Fisher, Patsy Keever are co-sponsors of this legislation. Mitch Gillespie down the mountain in McDowell County, Republican, signed on to this bill as well. It is a bipartisan bill that we have gotten, and I want Rick to give you the details. We got it through the House. And we need your help, ladies and gentlemen, tonight if you leave here, because it's sitting over in the Senate. They've refused to take it up, and we are going to have to move them off dead center. There's an alternative. It may not be perfect, but it is an alternative to the flawed system we've been using in this state for a number of years now. And Rick, if you would, tell them a little bit about what we signed on to.